You say you are under attack, you feel something is taking from you your peace, your strength, your clarity. But look deeper. What is being taken was first left unguarded. What is disturbed was first left unobserved. The world does not always strike with force. Sometimes it enters gently through your thoughts, through your reactions, through the doors you never knew were open. A harsh word enters your mind and stays. A moment of fear grows into a storm. A doubt whispers and you begin to believe it. This is how energy is drained, not by others alone, but by your own unawareness. You search for protection outside, but the strongest shield has always been within you. There is a simple trick, but it is not a trick of objects or rituals. It is a return to awareness. When a negative thought arises, do not chase it. Do not fight it. Simply see it. Like a cloud passing through the sky, let it move without holding it. When someone brings anger toward you, do not catch it. Anger is like fire. If you do not pick it up, it cannot burn you. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe slowly. Feel your breath enter and leave. This breath is your anchor. It is your protection. It reminds you that you are here, not lost in fear, not trapped in illusion. Now imagine a quiet space within your chest, a place untouched by noise, untouched by harm. This is your center. This is where your true energy lives. Each time you return to this space, you seal yourself, not with force, not with fear, but with presence. Understand this: what you resist grows stronger, but what you observe loses its power. So stop the attack not by fighting shadows, but by turning on the light of awareness. Walk through your day like this. When negativity comes, notice it. When fear whispers, watch it. When chaos rises, return to your breath. In this way, nothing can stay unless you invite it. You are not weak. You are not open to harm by default. You are simply unaware of your own strength. The moment you become aware, everything changes. Your energy stops leaking. Your mind becomes still. Your presence becomes your shield. No one can take what you do not give. So seal your energy not with effort, but with understanding. Be still. Be present, and you will see. There was never anything to fear. Awareness is your true protection. Energy is not taken forcefully. It is lost through unconscious thoughts and reactions. When you become aware of what enters your mind, you naturally protect yourself. Awareness is the quiet guardian that most people overlook, yet it is the most powerful protection you possess. Many believe that their energy is taken by others, by circumstances, or by unseen forces. But if you look deeply, you will begin to see that energy is rarely stolen. It is given away, moment by moment, through unconscious living. Consider how a single thought can enter your mind and begin to shape your entire state. A memory appears and suddenly your mood shifts. A worry forms and your body tightens. A small fear grows and it colors your entire day. These changes do not happen because something external has power over you, but because the mind was left unattended. When there is no awareness, every passing thought finds a home within you. Awareness changes this completely. It is like turning on a light in a dark room. The darkness does not need to be pushed out, it simply disappears. In the same way, when you become aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your reactions, they lose their ability to control you. You begin to see them for what they are: temporary movements, not permanent truths. When a negative thought arises, most people immediately follow it. They build stories around it, give it meaning, and allow it to grow stronger. But awareness invites you to do something different. Instead of becoming the thought, you become the observer of it. You notice it without judgment, without resistance, and without attachment. In that moment, a distance is created between you and the thought, and in that distance lies your freedom. This does not mean that thoughts will stop coming. The mind, by its nature, produces them just as the sky produces clouds. But awareness ensures that you are no longer lost in every cloud that passes. You remain rooted, stable, and clear. Through this simple shift, your energy begins to stay with you. It no longer leaks into unnecessary worry, imagined fears, or emotional reactions. You conserve your strength not by force but by understanding. Over time, this awareness deepens. You begin to notice not just your thoughts but the subtle ways in which you react to the world. You see how quickly you judge, how easily you are pulled into emotions, how often you are distracted. And with each moment of noticing, a quiet transformation takes place. You are no longer a passive receiver of everything around you. You become present, conscious, and steady. This presence itself becomes your protection. Nothing needs to be blocked, nothing needs to be fought, because nothing can take hold without your participation. In this way, awareness is not just a tool, it is a state of being. It does not require effort once it is understood. It simply asks you to remain awake to your own experience. And when you live in this awareness, you realize something profound. Your energy was never truly at risk. It was only waiting for you to notice where you had been giving it away. Do not react to negativity. Negative words, emotions, or energies only affect you when you engage with them. Observing without reacting prevents them from taking hold. When you begin to understand awareness, you start to see that most disturbances in life do not come from the outside world alone, but from the way the mind interprets and clings to that world. A single moment can become a storm inside you, not because the moment is powerful, but because attention is lost. The simple trick, the deeper understanding, is not to fight life, but to stop scattering your inner energy into every direction it is pulled. Imagine a calm lake. When the surface is still, it reflects everything clearly. But when a stone is thrown into it, the reflection breaks into waves. In the same way, your mind reflects life. When it is still, everything appears clear and manageable. But when disturbed by constant reaction, fear, or overthinking, clarity is lost. The trick is not to stop the world from throwing stones, but to stop identifying with every ripple that appears. Most people believe protection means resistance. They try to block negativity, avoid discomfort, or push away thoughts they dislike. But resistance often strengthens what it tries to remove. The more you struggle with a thought, the more attention you give it, and attention is the very energy that feeds it. So instead of resisting, awareness offers a different path, witnessing. When anger arises, for example, it feels powerful. The body reacts, the mind justifies, and suddenly you're inside the emotion. But if you pause even slightly and observe it as energy moving through you rather than something you are, a shift begins. You are no longer the anger, you are the space in which anger appears. That space is untouched. It does not burn, it does not shake, it does not break. This is the sealing of energy, not by building walls, but by returning to your center of observation. Every time you do this, you withdraw your energy from outer disturbance and bring it back to yourself. Slowly, you begin to notice that much of what once drained you no longer reaches you in the same way. Even in daily life, this practice becomes simple. A harsh word is spoken, and instead of immediately reacting, you pause. A worry appears, and instead of feeding it with imagination, you watch it dissolve. A memory arises, and instead of living inside it, you see it pass like a shadow. Each moment of observation is a moment of protection. Over time, this creates a natural stillness. You are no longer constantly pulled outward. Your attention becomes steady, and with that steadiness, your energy remains whole. You are not easily shaken because you are not constantly moving with every thought or emotion. This is the deeper meaning of sealing your energy. It is not a ritual or an external method. It is the art of returning again and again to simple awareness. And in that return, you discover that nothing outside of you has the power to disturb the peace you have learned to observe. Your breath is your anchor. Returning to slow, mindful breathing brings you back to the present moment where your energy remains stable and untouched. There is a point in inner understanding where you begin to realize that protection is not something you apply, but something that naturally arises when you are fully present. Until that point, the mind keeps searching for methods, techniques, or external shields. It believes that something must be done to stay safe, something must be controlled to remain untouched. But deeper awareness reveals a very different truth. Nothing can truly enter a space that is not unconsciously opened. Most of what disturbs a person does not come with force. It comes with invitation. A thought is not harmful on its own, but when it is accepted without observation, it begins to shape your inner world. A feeling is not dangerous by itself, but when it is absorbed without awareness, it becomes your reality. This is how energy is lost not in one moment, but in countless small moments of forgetting yourself. When awareness is absent, the mind becomes like an open door in every direction. Anything passing by can enter: opinions, fears, expectations, memories. And once inside, these begin to occupy space, creating heaviness and confusion. But when awareness is present, that same door is no longer wide open. It is not forcibly closed, it is simply watched. And in that watching, only what is necessary remains, while everything unnecessary dissolves on its own. You begin to see that most emotional suffering is not caused by life itself, but by resistance to life. What is happening is often simple, but the mind adds layers of interpretation. A small misunderstanding becomes a deep story. Passing comment becomes a lasting wound. A temporary feeling becomes a personal identity. Awareness gently removes these layers, revealing the simplicity underneath. In this simplicity, energy is no longer scattered. You stop traveling into every thought that appears. Instead, you remain where you are, grounded in observation. There is a quiet strength in this. Not the strength of control, but the strength of presence. You are no longer easily moved because you are no longer constantly leaving yourself. When you practice this again and again, something subtle begins to shift. You notice that emotions still arise, but they do not stay as long. Thoughts still appear, but they do not define you. Situations still unfold, but they do not completely disturb your center. It is as if life continues its movement on the surface while something deep within you remains untouched. This untouched space is not created, it is discovered. It has always been there, waiting beneath all the noise. The more you return to it, the more stable you become. And stability here does not mean rigidity, it means clarity. You can see things as they are without distortion. Slowly you stop asking how to defend yourself from life. Instead, you begin to understand life differently. You realize that most attacks you once felt were not attacks at all, but movements of your own unobserved mind. And when the mind is seen clearly, it loses its power to confuse you. In this way, sealing your energy is not an act of shutting down, it is an act of waking up. And the more awake you become, the less there is to protect, because nothing is leaking anymore. You are simply here, whole, aware, and undivided. Your inner stillness is your shield. There is a calm, untouched space within you. Connecting to it regularly creates a natural barrier against stress and external disturbance. There comes a moment in inner understanding when you stop searching for protection and start realizing that nothing outside has ever truly had authority over your inner state. What you once called an attack was often just life moving naturally, while the mind reacted without awareness. In that reaction, energy was scattered. In that forgetting, you felt drained. But the deeper truth is simple. What is seen clearly cannot control you in the same way it once did. Most people live in constant subtle reaction. A word is spoken and the mind immediately builds meaning. A situation changes and instantly a story is created. A memory surfaces and the entire body responds as if it is happening again. This continuous movement outward pulls energy away from the center. You begin to live in fragments, always responding, always adjusting, always unconsciously giving yourself away. But awareness interrupts this cycle. Not by force, not by suppression, but by simply seeing. When you see a thought as a thought, it loses its authority. When you see an emotion as energy passing through, it loses its grip. When you see a situation without immediately labeling it as good or bad, it becomes lighter, more manageable, almost transparent. This is the quiet sealing of energy. It is not a barrier built against life, but a return to presence within it. You are no longer thrown into every wave that appears on the surface of your experience. Instead, you remain aware of the water beneath all waves, the steady background that does not change. As this awareness grows, something very natural begins to happen. You notice that not everything deserves your reaction. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every emotion requires your identification. A space opens between what happens and how you respond to it. In that space, you regain yourself. At first, this space feels small, almost fragile. But with practice, it becomes stronger, more stable, more familiar. You begin to trust it more than the constant movement of the mind. And slowly you realize that peace was never something you had to create, it was something you had to stop interrupting. Energy in this state stops leaking through unnecessary engagement. You are no longer constantly entangled in imagined outcomes or past impressions. You begin to rest in direct experience, moment by moment, without excessive interpretation. This simplicity is powerful because it removes what was never truly needed. Even in the middle of activity, awareness remains available. You can speak, listen, move and act, but without losing yourself in it. Life continues, but the inner center remains still. And in that stillness, there is no fear of attack because there is nothing to defend and nothing to lose. In this way, sealing your energy is not a technique, but a realization. It is the understanding that presence itself is enough. When you are fully here, nothing can take you away from yourself. You lose energy only when you give it away. Nothing has power over you unless you allow it. By staying present and aware, you stop energy leaks and remain centered. There is a deeper understanding that slowly unfolds when you stop trying to control life and instead begin to simply witness it. At first, the mind resists this idea because it is used to action, reaction, and constant effort. It believes safety comes from defense and strength comes from resistance. But with time, you begin to see that most inner disturbance is not caused by life itself, but by the unconscious habit of getting lost in it. Every moment, countless impressions arise within you. Thoughts appear, emotions rise, memories surface, and sensations shift. In an unaware state, these are not just experiences, they become identities. A thought of fear becomes I am afraid. A feeling of anger becomes I am angry. A memory becomes this is who I am. In this way, energy that should simply pass through you becomes trapped within you. And what is trapped begins to feel heavy. Awareness gently changes this entire structure. It does not reject what arises, it simply illuminates it. When something is illuminated, it is seen clearly, and what is seen clearly no longer has hidden power. You begin to notice that you are not the thought, but the one aware of the thought. You are not the emotion, but the space in which emotion appears. This recognition may seem small, but it is the foundation of inner stability. As this understanding deepens, you realize that most of what disturbs you does so only because it is unconsciously accepted. A passing comment becomes a wound because it is taken personally. A fear becomes overwhelming because it is imagined repeatedly. A problem becomes endless because it is mentally replayed without pause. Awareness interrupts this unconscious continuation. In practical life, this shift is subtle but powerful. When someone speaks harshly, you may still hear the words, but you no longer immediately become them. When uncertainty arises, you may still feel it, but you do not drown in it. When the mind begins to spiral into stories, you recognize the movement early and return to presence. This return is the sealing of energy, not by closing yourself off, but by no longer scattering yourself outward. Over time, something remarkable happens. The mind still functions, but it loses its dominance. Thoughts still come, but they are no longer absolute. Emotions still arise, but they no longer define your entire being. Life continues in its natural rhythm, but you remain anchored in a space that is not easily shaken. This anchored space is not created through effort, it is uncovered through attention. And every time you return to it, even briefly, you strengthen your ability to remain centered. Gradually, you discover that peace was never something to be achieved, it was always what remained when you stopped leaving yourself. In this realization, the idea of being attacked loses its meaning. Because what can truly attack presents itself? What can disturb the one who is simply aware? Life continues, forms continue, experiences continue, but you remain rooted in something deeper than all of them. And in that rootedness, your energy is naturally sealed, not by effort, but by understanding.